Hey, Mr. Delphine, how you doing, sir?
Alhamdulillah, Reggie. How are you?
I'm doing great. I see you got some information for the people once again.
Yes, I wanted to share the information of the Marin County Child Support and the Marin County Superior Court, Family Court, and the cooperative agreement that they have with each other.
That sounds great. And considering the other videos that you have already demonstrated for the public, I'm sure this is something else that they can catch wind of, and hopefully it'll be something real good for them.
Yes, God willing, inshallah, yes.
So anything you'd like to say, sir, before we begin?
Yes, thank you. In the name of Allah, the most benevolent, the most merciful, I'd like to say that I love my mother, I love my father, I have love for the mother of our son, and I love our son.
All right, Mr. Delphine. So let me take a look at this information that you have.
Yes, so this documentation that I have is a plan of cooperation between the Marin County Child Support Services and the Marin County Superior Court. So basically, this document is detailing how these two entities or corporations are going in business together to collect the Title 4D or child support funds. What is happening is that child support is really a government-funded grant program that the federal government gives the state government incentive bonuses from collecting child support from so-called deadbeat dads and mothers, but it's just basically for them to get money to put in their treasury, state treasury, to get out general funding. The cooperative agreement is basically aligning and showing the procedures and how they will make this work to work within the court, the child support staff, and under the grant program AB 1058, Child Support Commissioner and Family Law Facilitator Program. So basically, you have the CEO of the court, James Kim, cooperating with Jill Francis, the director of the Child Support Agency, to collect the child support funds in a color of law child support hearing. So basically, in a sense, the child support agency is having these color of law child support hearings. Color of law basically means it resembles law, but it's not law, and they're collecting the child support funds. The importance of the plan of cooperation is that it's showing the nature of these two government agencies. So you have the child support department that is in the executive branch of government, and then you also have the courts that are in the judicial branch of government, and together they have this agreement which violates one's individual process or due process rights. And there is a case law, I believe the state of Minnesota, where they speak on child support being unconstitutional and how it violates the separation of powers doctrine, which states that that the three branches of government, legislative, executive, and judicial, are separate but equal. So back to this plan of cooperation is that you have these two branches of government violating people's individual due process rights to collect child support, and the two branches of government, which are supposed to be separate but equal, working together to get the child support funding. The issue is that the child support is unconstitutional, and they have to make it look as if they are following due process. But when you look at the case law, Blessing versus Freestone, the only people benefiting from the child support is the state treasury or the state of California as a fictitious or private corporation. when people enter in child support, the state makes you feel, and the people working for the state make you feel that it's an obligation to pay the child support. And the whole thing is that it's basically a fraud because they're violating your due process rights. They're violating your trial by a jury. And they're giving you the picture that you're in a real court, but in actuality, it's a scam or a sham because the Child Support Commissioner, under AB 1058, the Child Support Commissioner Family Law Facilitator Program, is just a grant program. And the Child Support Commissioner does not have any authority. And basically, they're making the administrative process seem judicial, and they're fooling the people into thinking that this is an actual real hearing. But one has to also think that if this was legit, they would have a remedy or a lawful remedy. So they don't have a lawful remedy because the whole thing is a scam. So basically, if the state of California, the child support staff, and the Marin County Superior Court staff are committing fraud, there won't be any lawful remedy. The idea of it being color of law is that they can't provide a lawful setting because you have the Judiciary Act of 1789, when the Congress changed the structure of the courts. So there haven't been any real judges since then. The people that call themselves judges right now are basically executive administrators on behalf of the agency, the state of California. And they're basically bankers. So if you look up the court's definition in old legalese dictionaries, the courts are banks, making the judges bankers. The closest to judges you will get will be the real United States Supreme Court. But if the United States Supreme Court justices are swayed by Democrats and Republicans and influenced by the Freemasons and Illuminati, they're not real judges. So basically, to tie this in is that, just informing the people that we have our government working against us and brainwashing us to feel that we have to pay child support. The flip side is that not everyone is a deadbeat father or mother, but it's just this brainwashing by our government so they could collect the money. So basically, this is the color of law that we speak of, where they make us into corporate fictions or corporations, and our country is a United States, is a corporation or federal corporation. So in order for them to get money from us and seize our property, they have to refer to us as a corporation, basically our legal fiction, or what you say, a straw man, with all capital letters. And I just wanted to inform the people of this.
So what's the documents that you have on your lap there, Wayne D, so the people can see it?
This is the plan of cooperation. So this is basically a cooperative agreement that the court and the child support agency is agreed upon. So I'll just skim through it right quick. Basically summarized in a little bit. So it's basically outlining the responsibilities of the local child support agency, the court responsibilities, the contracts, the reimbursement for services, the audit and inspection, records and maintenance. And it's just basically a contract that these two agencies are doing business together. So understanding of our government is that these courts are private corporations for profit. so is the child support agency that they hide behind being part of the government, but they're actually private contractors, and people don't know this about the law, so they just think that it is the government. But this agency are basically third-party debt collectors. The state of California is also a third-party debt collector because they have a monetary interest in a child's birth through the birth certificate, and they also use that to put an obligation onto a mother or father for child support. The real idea is that the state of California, as an artificial corporation, cannot prove that myself or anybody owes a debt because they're a creation of a man or a mind. But this is our government usurping their powers that they don't have to make people think that they owe a debt. So this is just the mentality of us being a United States citizen, which is basically a slave, saying that we owe the debt. And the idea is that they're not going to be able to prove that you owe a debt by any proper documentation because these agencies don't exist. So when the agents for the agency basically try to say you owe a debt, they cannot prove that you owe the debt because they are also artificial people. So basically how you take that, for example, is you might have a child support officer or a police officer. That police officer or child support officer is a part of this fictitious corporation. So how could they prove that you owe this debt that they made up without committing fraud? So the reality is that they can't prove that you owe a debt. But basically this is the fraud of them, is that they have to make it seem that you owe the debt. And the further you get with the knowledge of law, you will see that these people, governmental agencies, government-like, are committing fraud and treason against the people. This plan of cooperation is basically a business contract between these two parties. So this just shows the true intentions of our country and the corporation that it is, that you have two branches of government or governmental agencies going into this written agreement. So basically like myself or someone else going into a business agreement, but you have this child support agency. So basically at the end of their paperwork, there's this authorization that has all the parties that agreed to this contract. It says, we, the undersigned, the one signing this document, is authorized representatives of the County of Marin Child Support Services Department and the Superior Court of California, County of Marin. So basically they're authorized representatives. They're agents because once again, the County of Marin Child Support Services Department and the Superior Court of California, County of Marin are artificial corporations. They're not human. They can't speak for themselves. They're creations of the mind. So basically they have to have these people that are also corporations to sign on behalf of this fictitious corporation. But this is also fake because the way you look at it is these corporations are like Disneyland. These people that have signed are like a Mickey Mouse. So Mickey Mouse cannot sign anything because he's a fiction. So this is a fraud. So we, the undersigned, as authorized representatives of the County of Marin Child Support Services Department and the Superior Court of California, County of Marin, do hereby approve and enter into this POC, Plan of Cooperation, for the services described in this document. In the performance of provisions of this POC, the party agrees to comply with the Title 4D and all federal and state laws, regulations, policies, and directives. So basically, to highlight the point, they enter into this plan of cooperation for the services. So basically, now this is another fraud, because these agencies are providing services, but then they're masquerading as a court. So this is another fraud, that they're referring to us as customers, that they're providing services for us where they can monetize and gain. This is a fraud. The parties agreed to comply with Title 4D and all federal and state laws, regulations, policies, and directives. So this is another fraud and lies or treason, because they're not following federal and state laws. They're following municipal statutes and municipal and statutory codes, which is not the law. They're using these codes and trying to enforce it like it's law, but these codes are color of law, meaning they have a monetary value. So they're enforcing these codes to gain some kind of monetary benefit. This is signed by Jill K. Francis, Director of Child Support Services. This is also signed by Alicia Griffin, Director, California Child Support Services. Signed by Charlene Deppner, Director, Center for Families in the Judicial Council of California. James Kim, Court Executive Officer, Superior Court of California, Connie Marin. So once again, James Kim being the CEO, the court has a CEO. That's letting you know it's a corporation. So it's a private corporation, for-profit business. I dealt with James Kim when the child support agency staff and Marin County Superior Court staff were forging court orders, and I asked him to validate and verify the authenticity of these fake court orders, but he refused to do that. And instead of providing me with an affidavit under penalty of perjury that the child support fake court orders are real, he wrote me a letter stating that he knew that the people were forging and using redactions and whiteout on the child support order, but he refused to deal with it in legal capacity. Charlene Deppner for the Judicial Council of California, they've created these child support forms. And these child support forms are basically fake. They're enforcing these fake court orders or fake judgments by depriving people of their due process, and also getting them through implied consent or tricking them into paying child support because they don't provide them a lawful remedy. If these agencies, Child Support Department and the Superior Court of Marin, had lawful remedies, it wouldn't be a fraud. But since what they're doing is fraud and treason, there is no lawful remedy, because the courts are all in it together. So basically, all these groups are in it together to deprive us of our constitutional rights, our inherited rights by God, and they just want to collect money as if we were slaves.
Well, Mr. Delphine, this is another quite interesting topic. I think that we should further make another tape on this and run it together as a part 2, because I think that this is something that's very informative for the public, and I think that we can go a lot deeper into this. So is there anyone that you'd like to give a thanks to while we wrap this one up?
Yes, thank you. You bring a very good point. All praise due to Allah. I'd like to thank you, Reggie. I want to thank It's Me. I want to thank Rick W. and Aman Osiris and all the other people that have putting information about child support and the corruption of the family court.
And thank you as well, sir. And I can't wait till our further meeting. Until then, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.